A pleasant good evening, everybody. Welcome to CaneSport Right Now. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell. And Matt, today we really are discussing the news of the day. It's just not the morning, it's the evening. But it's been a big news day for the Miami Hurricanes, so we figured we'd do a little show here for everybody, answer some questions, and bring everybody up to speed on what's going on. Just to summarize before we get into it, Oregon now has wind of Miami's pursuit of Mario Cristobal, and it has been reported out there in Eugene that they will be making a very aggressive offer to Mario Cristobal. I imagine upon return to Eugene tonight, I believe the team's chartering back right after tonight's Pac-12 championship game, which is in Las Vegas. And I'm guessing they very quickly will sit down with Mario and present him with what they're willing to do for him to try to keep him at Oregon. And then, like we've been talking about for days, Matt, he's going to have to make a decision. It's going to be decision time. Very simple. We knew this was coming. We talked about it the last few days. Everybody on the message boards was saying, Gary, why won't you go above 80% on your prediction? And I'm like, I'm not going above 80% because I know that Phil Knight is yet to be heard here. And so that Oregon is going to try to intervene in this situation really is not a surprise. But ultimately, Mario's going to have to make a decision where he wants to be. There's not that great of a disparity in the money that's being talked about. I reported tonight, Matt, that what I've heard is Miami's in the ballpark of $8 million. So even if Oregon's at 10, when you factor in state income tax, that takes it down to 9. You're not talking about a big difference, 8 million, 9 million. Big difference to you and I, but in the scope of these big money athletic contracts, really not that big a deal. So ultimately, let's start there. Let me take that back. Let me also mention the athletic director news today. It also has leaked tonight, and I think I can confirm it. I've been working on it all day. We still do not have confirmation that there is a signed deal in place. But Miami is honing in on Clemson athletic director Dan Radakovich as its new athletic director. Radakovich is a guy that when Blake James was fired and we put out our top targets list of athletic directors, Radakovich was number one on my list for a reason. I've known Dan from the time that we were at Miami together. He was in graduate school business. I was finishing up undergrad. We have mutual friends. I can flat out tell you guys that this is an absolute stud that's about to become the athletic director at Miami. They could not have made a better hire. I don't care who they would have talked to. And absolutely, if they can get this deal to the finish line, is a grand slam home run for the Hurricanes. So you'd be talking, Matt, having one of the best, if not the best, athletic directors of the country, having one of the best head coaches in the country, and making all these people that have been on Twitter in the last few days running their mouths about what a mess Miami is makes them look pretty silly.
I mean, those of you that watch Good Morning CaneSport, I love to complain. Like, that's my thing. I just enjoy complaining.
You do.
And I've gone to per se $500 a plate, and I'll find something to complain about. There's nothing to complain about. I'm very upset. This is just all gravy and mashed potatoes, or whatever that saying is. I never use it. I don't use gravy, but I don't use the saying. So, I'm very upset. I got nothing to complain about. Everything looks great. Assuming Mario comes on board, I don't even know if we can still have Good Morning CaneSport. What am I going to complain about? I'm not used to saying how great things are. I mean, this is the first time that I'm being forced to say how great things are in 20 years since I was at the 2001 Rose Bowl with you covering that game. So, very unusual for me. I'm very uncomfortable in this situation. I tried to wear Clemson colors to celebrate, Dan maybe coming back home a little bit, but the closest I had was pink. So I don't know if that comes across on the camera very well. So, maybe it looks like orange. I don't know. But yeah, look, this is a time to be excited if you're a Hurricanes fan. What has been more exciting than this in 20 years, Gary? Since the Rose Bowl, I can't remember being this optimistic about this program, and nothing's even happened yet with either of these. Just the fact it's even a possibility, it's just like a ray of sunshine after the apocalypse for the last 20 years here.
So impressive. the way that these guys are getting this done. Now they still got to get to the finish line. We're going to qualify that, and they're certainly not home yet. Mario Cristobal, for sure. Like, there's still work to be done there with Phil Knight, dropping some loads of cash on the table. But I believe that for that to be as far along as it is, I got to believe that means Mario Cristobal wants to come back to Miami. And like, I don't know that it gets as far as it is right now if he doesn't. And I think there's a great chance that deal gets done too. And look, Joe Echeverria, Rudy Fernandez, they've done a really good job managing this for Julio Frank. They decided they were going to get athletics straightened out, and they've done it with an exclamation point. And even Alonzo Highsmith is weighing in right now on Twitter, says it's a win for the Miami Hurricanes if Dan Radakovich is the new AD. And Matt, I'm just telling you, I mean, I said it a minute ago, I think anybody in college athletics that has met Dan Radakovich or worked with him would say the same thing. This guy is a big-time athletic director, and he's going to have big-time challenges here at Miami. The budgets are going up. They're going to have to raise a lot of money. He's raised almost $200 million at Clemson. I think he's going to look to improve facilities. I think he's going to look to improve, in some cases, maybe the talent in the building at the Heck and Schwartz centers, and take this athletic department to a whole nother level. And we were talking about it yesterday. They've been having planning meetings, Matt, and there's just so many things there that need to be addressed. And he's going to need to hit the ground running.
Well, the great thing about bringing him on board is he gets it, right? He's worked with Dabo Swinney. He understands like what it should look like. And he also understands that sometimes you don't put your foot down when the football coach asks you for something. Like, he understands we got X number of other sports that are also trying to win championships. And hey, those sports may not make a ton of money, but football is a breadwinner, but those sports have to also have success. There's pride in the University of Miami program, not just for football. This is not a football hire and for the athletic director job. I know people want it to be a former Hurricane football player that's the athletic director. Like, that's really not the athletic director jobs. The best athletic directors understand how to help the football coach get what the football coach needs, and maybe even make suggestions to the football coach for what he might need that he doesn't see, but also to oversee all the other sports and, most importantly, raise money. And with the alumni base of former NFL players and guys like the Moss brothers, who, obviously are from Columbus and are very close to Mario, like there's a lot of potential to raise a lot of money in a hurry here. And they need it because, like we talked about on Good Morning CaneSport, was it this morning? I guess. Wow, it feels like 10 years ago. There's a huge deficit right now at Miami when it comes to facilities just being kept up with the other top programs in the country. Yeah. There's literally the Heck Center needs to be completely redone, maybe even gutted. The Wellness Center needs to be completely redone, and you're not even talking about just the all the having to pay salaries and all the other sports, all these other sports needing their equipment updated and upgraded. It's a lot of money. So the number I was told was, $10 million just for that stuff in the next budget year, not including other coaches' salaries. And then you're talking about $100 million, not including football salaries over the next several years. When you look at everything big picture that needs to be done, including other coaches' salaries, not football coaches' salaries. So there's a huge amount of money has to go into this. Like we talked about in Good Morning CaneSport, basically the CEO of UHealth has a formula, and he has all the numbers, and he's a business numbers guy. And he's come to the conclusion that if we spend this money and make this program a winning program, it not only pays for itself, but we'll have a lot of surplus money on top of that if we're competing for national championships. So that's the goal. If this falls flat, if I'm going to complain about anything, it's if this falls flat, they're going to be in big trouble because they're spending the money that maybe they're anticipating having, but don't
can't
have.
Fall flat. When you
I was about to say, this cannot fail, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't fail. This cannot fail.
When you hire the best people, you're usually going to get the best results. I'm seeing salary figures thrown around for Dan Radakovich potentially at the $3 million barrier. I'm guessing that's a little high. I would expect them to be more like 1.5 to 2 maybe, but they're showing a willingness to spend money to get the best talent. And just, for those of you, because I'm sure very few people really understand or know who Dan Radakovich is, let me just give some quick background. He went to Indiana University for undergrad, and then came to Miami and got his MBA. And always you could tell that's when I knew him, and you always could tell that Dan Radakovich was a guy that was going to go places. I mean, he just the way he carries himself, and you guys will get to know him once he gets here, if it gets done as athletic director. He's a guy that'll impress you from the minute he starts. He has a presence. He knows what he's doing. He began his career from 1983 to 1985 as an athletic business manager at Miami. That was after he got his MBA. Went to Long Beach State as an associate AD. Went to South Carolina. He was at Long Beach State for 5 years. Then he was at South Carolina as an associate AD for 6. Went to American for 1 year as an athletic director. Then spent 5 years as the senior associate at LSU, where he really, got his legs under him, I think, in this business. From 2006 to 2012, he was the athletic director at Georgia Tech, and then Clemson poached him, and he's been at Clemson since 2012. At Clemson, he's been part of those national championships in football. You're not giving him credit for that, let's be honest. But, I mean, he has been part of that type of winning, part of that type of program. So he understands what a big-time football program is supposed to look like. And that's a huge thing for Miami. They have not had somebody like that in the building. And whatever they're paying them, it's worth it just to have somebody in the building that knows what a big-time winning football program is supposed to look like. Also at Clemson, he's raised, like I said, I think over $200 million. He's made massive facility improvements at all levels. They have a great athletic facility at Clemson, and has continued to upgrade all their other athletic facilities. So a lot of people have said to me in the last couple of days, I've been saying, like, why is this taking so long? Why is it so complicated? Go get Dan Radakovich. And I think, people say, well, why would he want to leave Clemson? And I think, the reason he would want to leave Clemson is he's 63 years old now. Let's say he'll work another, 6-7 years, whatever, probably till he's like 70. And this gives him a new challenge. He's like already done every single thing that he could possibly do at Clemson. And, so I think that would be the best answer. Your thoughts, Matt?
I mean, doesn't everybody come down to Miami when they get older? Like, isn't that the thing to do?
Good point.
Good point. Who doesn't want to be in Miami? Like, I would come to Miami. I mean, look, he's getting a lot more money. I think the reported salary he had at Clemson was only $800,000. So
no, it was more than that. He was making a little over $1 million at Clemson. Yeah.
There was a local newspaper I won't name that said $800,000, like literally today. But
yeah,
regardless,
I know for a fact it was over $1 million. But yeah.
Okay, well, he's got a nice bump in pay, whatever he was making. And he gets to live in Miami, and he gets to have Gary Ferman and Matt Shodell text him all day long and call him all day long to see what's going on. So, I mean, who doesn't want to have that?
Exactly. So let's and in terms of the Mario Cristobal situation, I mean, it's obviously going down. I mean, Mario's going to have to make a decision here. I would think in the next 24 hours. He's got the game tonight at 8:00. I'll say it right now, Matt. Go Ducks! You got to root for Mario to win his third straight Pac-12 title. And listen, he's going to come or not come. Mario Cristobal can't. You can't want him to be like. You want him to be as big as he could possibly be. If he could win a third straight Pac-12 title and get them to the Rose Bowl and bring that resume to Miami, all the power to him and whatever. And I don't think it'll affect one way or the other whether he makes the decision to come to Miami. So go Ducks tonight. The game starts in about 45 minutes. So, Matt, before we go to questions, any more thoughts on where things stand in the Mario hire?
Well, it's just funny because, you were mentioning how the team obviously plays. It's what time is it there? 5 p.m., I guess, right? It's what time their game starts there. And they are flying home afterwards. But there have been, rumors and reports, there's a Miami charter flight that's going to Las Vegas. And it's got to have these top people on it that are going to not let Mario leave without signing the deal and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I can't see Mario not flying home with his team after the game personally. Like, I think he already knows what he's going to do. I think this is all about not distracting his team. Look, I mean, I know Mario well. You know Mario well. We've covered him at Miami. Like, he's all about winning and whatever it takes to win. And he's not going to let distractions get in the way of that for his team. And he also is a very straightforward guy. I'm sure he's talked about it with his family. I'm sure his agent, he already has whatever the 2 offers are, and he already probably knows what he's doing. So all he's got to do is play this game, go home, get 2 hours of sleep, which is what he gets every night. And then tomorrow, hopefully, you know, we'll start having some news leaking out on what the decision is. But, you know, I don't think the dollar cents amount is enough to make a difference. I think it comes down to just being here versus what his wife and his kids want. You know, and if his wife and kids strongly want to stay in Oregon, and if the money's better in Oregon, you know, and Phil Knight really has ponied up with a bigger offer maybe than is being reported, which is possible. Then,
you knew that was going to happen, though. We talked about that.
No, I know, but the offer he gave isn't that different than Miami's when you factor in the 9.9% tax. So
they're paying him I think 4.5 right now. So you're talking about doubling his salary essentially. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big hike for an athletic department.
Right. Right, but if his family actually wants to stay there, obviously he's got his own personal ties here. You know, and I want to say if his family wants to stay there, that's the big line right now in the Oregon local media that I've been reading, because, you know, I follow this closely. I'm sure all of you do also. It's all, his wife and his kids just love it in Oregon. You know, they're so happy here. So why would he leave? And the truth is, like, Mario's coming home and he can see his mom, who obviously sadly is ill. But Mario doesn't leave that athletic office. He doesn't leave the athletic building. It's not like he's going to be on the beach and enjoying the Miami weather. He doesn't leave that freaking building.
He works and he recruits, and
that's all he does. He just is at work. He's just a worker, a workaholic, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's not even type A. It's type AAA or type.
It really is. I've never seen anybody work harder, Matt.
Right. I mean, so like for him coming home, it's not like, oh, he's going to hang out with his friends who are, you know, he went to high school with these guys and blah, 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 blah.
He'll sneak to Big Cheese every now and then, I guarantee.
He's coming home, so maybe his kids can see their cousins, and his brother, if there's an emergency, he'll be here for his mom. But, like, it's going to be, I would have to think his wife and kids have to be fully on board. That's going to be super important. So that's going to be interesting, because if the money's there now from Oregon, even more so. I don't know if there needs to be another discussion with his family or not. That's going to be really interesting to see, because I would think Mario should have known by now what he's going to do. So, you know, and if nothing changes, I think he's coming here personally. But again, the offer, you know, Oregon's going to maybe make it another offer. Who knows? And if wife and kids are like, well, you know what, we do sort of like it here. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. So that's why you're at 80%. That's why I'm at 79%, because I tell people I'm more pessimistic than you about everything. And we'll see where it goes.
I'm sure Jessica Cristobal is watching this show right now as she gets ready to settle down in the suite up there in that beautiful new stadium in Las Vegas. And what I would say is, like, do they even have shopping malls in Eugene? Like, that extra $1 million a year is totally insignificant in the big picture of life. And you know, Mario doesn't spend any money anyway. I mean, he's always working. Is
that Mario calling? Did he take the job?
No, that's somebody else. But yeah, it's been like this all day, to be honest with you. But yeah, so I don't see $1 million here or there tilting the scales on the decisions that's made. All right, let's go on to questions. Daniel Morell here says, "Bring it home, Gary." Listen, I mean, I've done everything I can do, man. I've been on Mario Cristobal for 3 years. If you've been on CaneSport.com, you know that I have been on this for 3 years. He should have been hired when Manny Diaz was hired. It was a total joke. It ultimately cost Blake James his job at Miami, as it should have. It was absolute athletic director malpractice at that point. But, you know, listen, the deal's there. It's for the taking. You know, now it's up to Mario. So I can't do anything more on that front. Now, on the Dan Radakovich front, when Blake James was fired, I put it out an athletic director candidate list, and Dan Radakovich was right at the top of it. And I said in my summary, he absolutely had to be the top candidate. So the question I've been asking for the last few weeks, Matt, as you know, is what the heck's taking so long? Why are they complicating this so much? It's so easy. It was right in front of them the whole time.
What's amazing about it is when you and I discussed the athletic directors and who might be in the picture and who to you know, mention realistically, I said to you, and I think you agreed at the time, was why, you know, the Clemson athletic director, like, could we really get him? I know he had some ties here. He went to grad school here, and he was worked here for a year. But, like, he's got everything he wants at Clemson. He's got all the relationships up there. He's got all the money he could possibly want. It's almost on cruise control. So it is almost like he wants that last challenge, like a Howard Schnellenberger, right? Taking on the challenge of building a program at FAU. It's like going to be his last, stamp on his professional career, before he heads off into the Key West sunset. So to me, good for him, good for Miami, good for everybody. Because when you and I first talked about him being a viable candidate, it was more like a long shot, right? Just because it's Clemson. They've been so good.
I'll be honest with you. Before I put him number one on that list, when we made it, I kind of had some back channels and stuff, and I vetted that. I wasn't going to put him number one on the list if I didn't think there was a chance they could get him. And I kind of back channel vetted whether there would be a chance if Miami went after him. And I found out that there would be a chance. So that's why I put him number one on that list. It was a sincere number one because, this guy's one of the best athletic directors in the country. If you can lure him, it's an absolute no-brainer. I like my man TF here, Matt. He said he's now promoted. I'm not sure which one of us he's promoting, but we are now Superman and Batman. Robin is the hell out of the equation.
TF is very excited because I think he's posted it like 10 times.
I get a kick out of this too. This guy CD Wright on our message boards at CaneSport, he is like an icon. Like he pushes buttons.
Icon's not the right word.
No, what's the word? What's the right word?
I don't want to say it.
He pushes, agitates.
It's not a good word. It's not a good word.
He puts under people's skin. He agitates because he's always going against the grain. Like if somebody says A, he has to always line up at B. And so I don't know what he's going to do now because there's not really going to be a B. Like it's all good, CD and everybody. Like you can't possibly complain if these two guys end up in the building next week. You cannot complain about a thing.
Could not have gone any better. Could not have gone any better.
Yeah, absolutely not. Steve Veras here is saying that they offered $7 million. I don't believe that's true. My information is that the number is $8 million. I believe the number is 8 as the salary from Mario, and we'll see if he accepts it. I don't. Javier Fernandez is saying Manny's at the cusp of staying at the U. I imagine he's talking about the fact that there are select members on the board of trustees that felt that way and wanted that to be the case. They were very quickly overruled in this situation. And I
think what he's referring to is I think there's a lot of noise on Twitter and people talking about, oh my gosh, Oregon's never going to let Mario leave. They'll offer him, 10% of Nike to stay, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think what he's referring to is that a lot of people are saying if something happens along those lines and he stays in Oregon for whatever reason, which I think is unlikely, you think is unlikely, but if it happens, maybe Manny is remaining at Miami, which, fans don't even want to think about right now, but that's what that guy's talking about.
This is so bizarre. For Manny, that this is going on while he's still the head coach. It's very non-traditional, but I think there's multiple reasons for it. One, they didn't want it to come to a head before today, for sure. And B, if Mario, for some reason, ends up staying at Oregon, then I think Manny Diaz is going to get to remain as coach at Miami for another year. And so Manny should actually be happy that they haven't fired him yet, I believe. Because it could mean that he gets to stay in his job. But you and I are in agreement that Mario more than likely will take this offer. So it'll be a moot point. But, listen, it's non-traditional, but I don't really blame Miami for going about this the way they are. If you're going to spend all this money, you're not spending all this money to not end up with a difference maker. And if you can get Mario Cristobal, he's a difference maker. Alan Hardman's asking a great pertinent question. No Alonzo Highsmith. I wouldn't assume anything there, Matt. I think that Alonzo Highsmith has a lot to offer the Miami Athletic Department. And if he can get a face-to-face with Dan Radakovich, I think Dan Radakovich might emerge from that meeting feeling the same way. So, but I think it will be Dan's call. But Matt, would you agree there's probably a good likelihood that Alonzo Highsmith does get a sit-down with Dan Radakovich, assuming he's the new AD?
I assume he'll get a sit down, but I have to think at the end of the day, if Mario Cristobal does get the job as we expect, it's going to be up to Mario. If Mario says, we need a guy with these kind of local ties, these kind of alumni ties, these kinds of amazing talent evaluation skills, I want him, which Manny has refused to do, by the way. And Manny brought in Ed Reed as a part-time guy. I can never get in here, part-timer, because technically he's a full-timer, but he's very rarely there. I know Ed disagrees with that assessment, but that's how I see it. So yeah, I would think it'll be up to Mario at the end of the day. That Dan, because Dan knows, like, give Mario whatever he needs to be successful, and if Mario feels like he needs Alonso, he'll bring him in. I mean, Mario's going to do whatever it takes. I just hope Alonso's prepared to work 24 hours a day, 22 hours a day, maybe with 2 hours of sleep. Because
he wouldn't necessarily work for Mario per se. He'd be working for Dan. Right.
Well, it's going to have to be, to me, if you bring Alonso, it's for football. It's just he's so good at that stuff, at evaluating tape, at his connections and recruiting, and knowing high school coaches that can clue Miami in before other programs are even aware of top recruits. Like, it's a waste to put Alonso in that athletic department. Just put him on football. That's my opinion. Right. If Mario wants him.
Brian Clem is commenting on my poor choice.
I wore a collar, and
Matt's got a collar on.
I only wore it because I thought you were going to.
I've kind of been grinding here all day. I don't know. I wasn't really thinking about my shirt.
This is for the announcement of an athletic director. You're supposed to dress up. Yeah. It's like you're going to a 5-star restaurant and you're looking like a schlub.
If the contract gets signed for the next show, I promise I'll put a collar shirt on. I thought you said Manny is staying. To clarify that, what we said was there were three scenarios, and there were factions at one that were balking at the cost of all this change and didn't want Miami to spend all this money and wanted them to bring Manny back. That was one thing we said. There was also not alignment necessarily on the board of trustees, and that they didn't want Miami after Mario Cristobal. So there was that faction. And then, of course, there was always the option of Mario Cristobal's pursuit. So there were three scenarios at play. One of them, yes, was Manny coming back. And yes, there were a lot of people, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that were very aggressively pushing that scenario. They clearly have been overruled, and Miami moved on from that. So again, another question about Alonso. We just answered that one. These guys crack me up. King of Battle. Gary's all over the place. How is Gary all over the place? Gary has been talking about freaking Mario Cristobal to Miami for 3 years, King of Battle. And, certainly for the last couple months, when I knew these talks were taking place, I have continuously been on the Mario thing. I have said I thought it's 80% it was going to happen all along, the entire time this whole conversation's been taking place. How that equates to all over the place, I have no idea, but I do understand that people make different interpretations of.
He means you're all over the place getting scoops.
I don't understand. Like, everything is in black and white. I mean, I understand that there's always different scenarios and different possibilities, and it was not a definite that they would get Mario. It's still not a definite they could get Mario. And if Mario says no, I'm staying at Oregon, Manny is going to stay. So that is a live scenario. Like,
people are still hung up, I swear, on that column you wrote. Because I'm just looking at some of the recent posts, which you won't get to for 3 hours. They're still hung up on that headline.
I know.
They're still hung up on the headline that unless
the headline was up for 10 minutes.
Unless the AD overrules whatever, like Manny's saying, people don't understand. They didn't read the article. They just looked at the headline, which we had a mistake.
But we fixed the headline. Yes, I said it was a bad headline, and it was. It was written.
Yeah, but I'm saying people who are saying you said Manny was coming back. You never ever said that.
I understand, but it was a bad headline. I've said that. We changed it very, very quickly.
Correct. Those of you who are posting about it right now, he never actually said that in his story.
Kane Jew's asking if Dan Radakovich would be the highest paid AD in the country. I'll be honest, I don't have a complete report on what all the different ADs make. I don't know who the highest paid AD is in the country. Probably could research it very quick here, and I will do a Google search in a moment. But he's going to get a raise over what he's making. He's making somewhere in the 1 to 1.3, 1.4 range right now with his bonuses and everything. It's reasonable to assume that he's going to go probably in the 1.5 to 2 million range. at Miami. So if he's not the highest paid, he will certainly be one of them. Now, this is an interesting idea, Matt, from Lewin Frazier. He says with Dan Radakovich as the AD, they really don't need Zoe. You can make that argument, probably. I mean, Dan Radakovich is a football AD. You know, he knows what the football program is supposed to look like. You know, what do you think? Do you think there's still a place for Alonzo? I'll find a place for Alonzo no matter who the AD is. That's me personally.
Okay, so to me, what should happen, and it's sort of like what they do when they hire everybody. They've got to get everybody in place first. To me, get the assistant coaches in. You know, you got to hire, get the head coach Mario taken care of, get the AD there, get them in and get them working, and then see how they all work together and see if there is a missing piece. Because sometimes if you add a little too many voices, sometimes it actually is a detraction. I'm not saying Zoe wouldn't be great no matter what, but there's also a yin and a yang, I guess, is that a term? Like where it just works. And if they can figure out through spring football, this is working, or, hey, we need another voice, I think that's very important. And then what kind of voice they need? Is Zoe the right personality to mix with these guys? Like, to me, you don't just hire somebody because he's a name and he's done it in the NFL personnel-wise. It's got to be the right fit type of person where it's not going to be abrasive. Because, look, let's face it, if you're going to hire Alonzo, he's basically going to be overseeing everybody except for Mario in terms of he'll be going up to coaches saying, hey, you got to look at this guy. Hey, you should offer this guy. Like, that's going to be his job because that's what he did in the NFL. He was a personnel evaluator. If some of these coaches don't like that, that's going to create friction. So to me, get everybody in place first, then figure out what's missing, figure out which person is going to be best for that missing piece, if there even is a missing piece. And if it's Alonzo, then no doubt you bring him in. You don't have to hire him today. You don't have to hire him tomorrow. He'll still be here in 3 to 6 months. You will say, Alonzo, we need you. He'll be there. So there's no rush to me. Like, I'm not getting hung up on Alonzo at all. To me, there's no rush with him. Like, when you realize you need him, then you get him.
I think the contributions he would make go far beyond even just helping with personnel. I mean, I think about the impact he can make in the community, building bridges with the high school football coaches, with the youth league football coaches. He's talking about, hosting things like golf tournaments for these guys, things like that, just to build a family feeling and get that culture back into the U. I look at him being a fundraiser. I look at him being a mentor to kids in the building. And as much as anything, I look at him making an impact with parents on recruiting visits. Alonzo Highsmith, carries himself very well. He's an experienced guy. He could sit down with parents. He could talk to them very frankly about the path to the National Football League because he's been there for the last 20 plus years and he knows all about it. And, I think he would be great in all those different roles. And if they can get him in the building as a associate athletic director under Dan Radakovich, who's one of the best in the country, I'd be all for it. I think it would be great. People keep throwing out the $7 million a year figure. It was just reported. I have no idea who's saying that. The information I've had is 8. I hope I'm right because 8's a lot closer to 10 than 7. And if Phil Knight's throwing 10 down tonight, I think it would be better if Miami was at 8. But I don't think that there's an inclination at the University of Miami to get into a bidding war with Phil Knight, where Miami settles at 8, and then Phil Knight throws down 10, and then Miami throws down 11, and Phil Knight comes back with 13. I don't think they're looking to play that game. I think that they've worked with Mario's agent. I think they've reached a threshold that they're comfortable with, and I expect that Mario will be making that decision based on that threshold. And like I said, I believe that 8 million is the number. 81 Canes, Matt, makes a great comment here. Grown-ups are taking over. Absolutely. They had to get all the factions off to the side. Those guys that were pushing agendas and pushing for their own influence and things like that, they were slowing the process. They were barriers to the type of success that we think we're seeing unfold here. So I think it's a good thing, Matt, that they got some structure to this thing, and now they're trying to close these deals.
Yeah, and it's interesting because everyone's saying there are reports from Oregon that Oregon's offering 7. I mean, let me ask you this. Okay, and there's also been a report, by the way, that Oregon's offering the same money that that USC is offering and offered. So why? Okay, when think about it logically, Oregon knows Miami's making an offer. It's all over the internet. It's not like this is a brand new thing. They just figured it out, right? Oregon certainly has been talking, I'm sure, to Mario's agent. They want to give him an extension. Mario's agent's not going to keep it secret from them. Hey, here's the number you got to hit. If Miami's offering 8, why would Oregon, leak that, hey, we offered 7? Like, it makes no sense. They shouldn't even give it's embarrassing if that's Oregon's offer. Like, that makes no sense. To me, that's, trolling on Twitter, because it logically, when you just think about it, there's no way they would do that if they, if Mario's agent knows what he's doing, which he does. Like, there's no way Oregon would be like, okay, well, they offered 8, well, we're going to offer 7. It doesn't make any sense. So, we'll see what happens. I don't know if you saw, but, Bruce Feldman says there's still 3 people left in the AD search. There's always drama, right? Nothing's ever done until you sign, which is why you and I never say something's a done deal. We never once have said Dan's a done deal. We never once said Mario's a done deal. We've seen deals go south at the last second that we have been told were done deals. And we don't even report it. You just wait. Just wait till he signs, because we're told it's a done deal, but let's just wait to make sure he signed it. And they don't sign it. So, we'll see. Still feel good, obviously, about Dan coming from what we've heard, and feel good about Mario coming from what we've heard. But again, until they sign, guys, that's when you celebrate. You don't celebrate when Miami's winning by but what was it against FSU? 6 points on 4th and 14 or whatever it was. I can't remember what they were up by now. I erased that memory from my brain. But that's not when you celebrate. You celebrate when that 4th and 14 pass is incomplete and you run out the clock. So that's what we're waiting for, the clock to run out here. It might be 4th and 14 for Oregon with Mario. It might be 4th and 14 for Clemson with Dan. But you've got to make them throw that incomplete pass, right? So we're waiting on the incomplete pass, and then obviously on CaneSport and on Twitter, we'll put the news out there when we've confirmed it on our end also.
Yeah. And I'll throw this out. There might be 3 candidates left, whatever. If Dan Radakovich is one of them, stop wasting your time, whoever's making these calls. Get Dan Radakovich done. You'll be happy. He'll more than pay for himself. He will raise plenty of money to pay for his higher salary than other candidates. And just as a total A+ first-class human being that will represent this athletic department phenomenally, I say, get it done. All right, King of Battle is back, and I like this one. He hopes Mario brings a strength and conditioning coach. I love that guy, man. Have you seen him? He's got the handlebar mustache, big, strong, built guy. Obviously, a lot of enthusiasm. I could see him working with David Feely. I think Mario might retain David Feely. I don't know if it'll be in the exact same role, but Mario gave David Feely his first job in the business, and I think David Feely would have a chance of sticking in a retooled Miami football department under Mario Cristobal. But the guy, I don't even know his name, with the handlebar mustache. Anybody that has that look is all right by me. And listen, if I could grow a handlebar mustache like that, Matt, I will admit right now, I would unquestionably do it. I've been jealous. And yeah, Coach Feld. We need Feld to come. K-Rat Kane 66 is saying that's his name, Feld. And what a absolute stud strength coach that he is.
If you really want a good mustache, Gary, look up Raleigh Fingers for the old timers. That's the mustache I want. Forget Feld. Feld is like a rookie compared to Raleigh Fingers, all right?
Joe Wren is pointing out that Lane Kiffin hasn't signed an extension yet either. I think it's in the works. His agent certainly did. His agent's Jimmy Sexton, the best in the business, and he certainly has done a good enough job spreading the Lane Kiffin to Miami rumors the last couple of weeks. And I could see Ole Miss trying to preempt. They're sitting there thinking, there is no way Mario Cristobal is going to Miami. Miami's going to end up in a search. They're coming after Lane. We got to tie up Lane right now. Absolutely 100% could see that scenario taking place in Oxford. Beast Mode Kane wants to know if hiring such a good AD helps get Mario. Matt, I would say absolutely. I think it helps close the deal. An AD to a guy like Mario is so important because he's going to have things that are going to come up that he's going to want to get done, and he's going to want to know that the guy in that office is an advocate for football and is going to get things done.
Yeah. And again, I mean, it's funny, like basically it goes hand in hand, because if you have a great head coach, you need a great athletic director. It would not have worked. Like back when Blake James was looking to hire a coach and made that ridiculous decision to just not even have a search and hire Manny Diaz away from that, national championship winning program Temple. He could have gone after Mario. Mario wanted to come at that point, for those that remember. And he didn't have the desire to work with Mario. And I'll tell you a quick story, which I've told you, Gary, a couple of times, but I don't know if everybody who's watching this knows it. Back when I was covering the team, when Mario was the tight end, he was the tight ends and the offensive line coach of mine. This was when he was the tight ends coach. There was a commitment from Texas named not Dalian Farr. It was wanted to play with the Giants. Was it Dalian Farr? Anyway, whoever it was, right before it was, I think, spring practice, whatever, it was spring practice, I guess, probably, or something. I don't know. Something was going on where I was on the field. And the kid had been an early commitment, and the kid told us he decommitted. That I did an interview with the kid. He decommitted. I wrote the story. I go out to the spring practice or the fall practice, whatever it was. And like Mario sees me across the field, probably 50 yards away, and starts screaming my name and expletives.
I remember that.
Literally, he said, "You're effing with my livelihood." Like, I'll never forget it. "You're effing with my livelihood." Showed up like screaming at 50 yards across the practice field, the old Green Tree Field. Everyone's like staring at me, and like he comes running over like he's going to tackle me. Like, he's intense. And I'm like, Mario, like, don't kill me. Like, I just reported what the kid said. He says, well, I talked to him after you wrote your story. He told me he didn't decommit. I said, of course he told you that. He's scared of you. I'm scared of you. And like Blake James was scared of him too. And Blake didn't want to deal with him. Mario will not take no for an answer. He will always try to get what he wants. And he will apparently scream curses at you from across the stadium, across the practice field, across US 1. It doesn't matter where he is. If he thinks you've done him wrong, and of course I didn't, I was correct, but he didn't think so at the time. He'll let you know.
Hey, let them get a bad mofo in the building, man. I mean, so necessary. We've been watching this crap show for almost 20 years now, and it's time to get it straightened out and bring quality people into the building. That's what it looks like they're getting done. And I applaud, Rudy Fernandez, Joe Echeverria, Julio Frank, and anybody else that's responsible for this. Because if they can bring this home, and again, I don't know why the heck you would have 3 candidates left for AD if you can get Dan Radakovich, but maybe they've got somebody better than Dan Radakovich. Who knows? I know I wouldn't have that one. I know one guy I wouldn't have on the list next to Dan Radakovich, and that's Eddie Nunez. Okay, now I did hear that Tom Jurich was interviewing today. Or at least getting a conversation, or along the, and he's got an okay resume, but he had those problems at Louisville. Dan Radakovich is clean; he's got a clean resume. I like that much better. Hey, Matt, CD Wright wants to set you straight.
I saw that
on one thing, and he thinks he is an icon. I mean, that was the first word that came to my mind, but I get that might be a little controversial. But this is a great point here by Daniel Morell. Manny deserves praise for how he's handling everything. You know what he really does? I mean, this has got to be brutal for him. I mean, all this conversation, he hears it all. He's sitting there trying to conduct business as usual. He's making recruiting trips. He's making phone calls. They've got a couple kids on official visits this weekend. They're supposed to go out to California to see a recruit on Sunday. I got a feeling that flight's not going to take off. But, I mean, listen, he's handling it as classy as can be. I agree he deserves credit for that, because there's a lot of coaches that would not be. Is the AD hire a sign that Miami could pursue Brent Venables? That's a good question. Like, I wonder if Radakovich would have the opportunity to introduce Venables into the equation with Cristobal and get him as AD here at Miami. I mean, as DC here at Miami. I would doubt it. but it's a good thought.
There's no way Brent wants to deal with the crap show on defense that he's got personnel-wise right now. To fix this defense, it's going to be transfer portal, transfer portal, transfer portal. You don't have enough time left in the recruiting cycle to even get a defense coordinator signed after your head coach and really have him do anything. When you jump through all the hoops you got to do to be cleared and all that stuff.
Jason C says Mario at the U will make Nick Saban and Kirby Smart scared, and they'll lose their recruiting pipelines. Don't kid yourself, okay? I know people at Alabama, and for years there has been conversation in the building there about Mario. If Mario ever landed at Miami, how it will change things, not just for them, but for a lot of people. And I think it will. I think it's going to make it harder for those schools to come into South Florida and recruit. And that's what Miami's needed. Miami needs to put the fence back up. It needs to start getting its share of the top local players again. I think Mario Cristobal makes sure that happens. No doubt.
Well, here's the thing about the way recruiting is now. And for those of you that haven't been following that closely, you can still take 25 recruits a cycle, which is great. And there's more than enough in South Florida for everybody, including Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. But they've added 8 free spots now for transfers that you can take out of the portal that don't count against the 25, but that do count against your 85. You can basically replace anyone who transfers out in a given year, or maybe even the year before, with a new one that you haven't used. So this is not any longer only about high school recruits. And I was actually talking with some people who were sort of in the know, high school coaches and people at the college level, and they think this transfer portal and the whole new sort of system is really going to make college football a lot more like the NFL, where you're not going to see undefeated teams in the national championship game. You're going to start seeing 2 or 3 2-loss teams in the national championship game, and going to 8-4 is going to actually be a good season in the not too distant future, because there's this redistribution of wealth of 4-stars and 5-stars who aren't starting in their first or second years that see, hey, I still may not start. I got to battle for my starting spot here. But if I go there, I'm going to start right away, have one good year, and I'm in the NFL. And that's going to redistribute the whole equation. So as much as you want to say, okay, Mario Cristobal won't let anyone get away, it's also become now a transfer portal battle. And that's something everyone is, even with Manny being the transfer you whatever, that's the equation that's going to be Mario's next challenge if he is at Miami, because it's not just about recruiting. It's about evaluating that portal and getting those 7 free kids a year, and maybe even more, because if you could take over 7 and just count it against the 25. So you might be taking 7 to 10 transfers a year. And if you can, that's a starting defense. That's a starting offense, almost, -1. So it's huge, right? So I don't think that Alabama or Georgia are quaking in their boots about South Florida talent right now if Mario's the coach, but certainly it won't help them any, that's for sure.
Vicious Vic is asking what coaches will be retained if Mario takes the job. Well, I mentioned David Feely in the strength and conditioning program. I think he would have a shot. I think Stephen Field as a position coach, he's worked for Mario before. I think he would have a shot. Beyond that,
I think if T-Rob wants to stay, I can't imagine them getting rid of him. He's a really good coach.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I see T-Rob staying. I really don't.
Well, he may not want to stay, but if he wants to stay, I can't imagine them saying, no, we're good.
Yeah, we'll see. You got to remember, Mario's got his own DB coaches that might want to come from Oregon.
Yeah, but they have a DB and a cornerbacks coach right now.
Well, they got a guy named Rod Chance, who I think is a pretty good coach. I think he'd probably come from Oregon. But, we'll see what happens there. But I don't think that you would see a lot of retention. I really don't. I think Mario would have his own ideas, his own guys. Alan Hardman wants to know if I'd get into Joe's Stone Crab, Matt, with this shirt. What do you think?
Listen, Alan, who needs to go to Joe's Stone Crab? Sunday morning at 7 a.m. If you're at Matheson Hammock Dock, you'll see me there going out on my boat to go get my stone crabs. I don't need to go to Joe's Stone Crab, so you don't need to dress when you eat them at home, okay? That's the way to go, Alan. Don't go to Joe's. Save your $70 on an order of large and go get your own out in the Bay. That's where they come from. I don't know if you knew that.
Gumby says he's buying 6 season tickets if Mario's hired, Matt. How big of an impact? That's a good point. I think it would be a huge impact on ticket sales and attendance if Mario does, in fact, accept the job.
Well, that's the formula that they came to when they said, if we hire Mario and pay him all this money, it pays for itself and more on top of that. Because this was talking to people who know, this was a business decision. This was not, okay, we've just got to make the fans happy. It doesn't matter if we lose money, which I always said it should have been. I always said they should be willing to lose money to make the fans happy, because like that's what it's all about. I mean, the fans of your program are your program. They basically run your program when it's your athletic department. If you have fans that aren't happy, that aren't coming to games, that are starting to root for other teams to beat you because they want your coach to get fired, like you got to change that no matter if you lose money in the short run. But no, they think that the formula they ran and the numbers they ran, that they will make money if they can start winning, and they think Mario's the guy to get him there, you know. So, and regardless of these reports that, you know, there's still 3 athletic ads that could be considered, and it may not be Dan, whatever. The rest of those, the other guys that they're looking at, like Jurich, are outstanding also. Like, there's no bad answer right now. There's no Manny Diaz or Blake James that they're looking at, right? So I think people should be excited. And that's coming from somebody who's always a pessimist.
CD Wright pushing buttons once again. Why is everybody acting like it's happened, that Mario has accepted the job? CD, people are excited, man. You know, they're excited. You know, they're hoping that it does end up getting completed. Again, everyone's talking about a $7 million figure. I don't believe that's accurate. I heard 8. I heard 8 is the Miami offer.
8 is the Miami offer.
Yeah, Oregon's contract.
That's what we were talking about before. It made no sense for this report of 7. That's all I'm saying. I saw a report of 11. Some people are saying 7, but again, use your common sense. Why would Oregon, after they know what Miami's offer is, say, okay, we'll offer you 7 for your extension? Like, it puts egg on their face when it's publicly reported they've offered an extension and they're going to lose out because they wouldn't give up the money. Like, why even offer an extension?
Let's see. I'm just I'm getting through these real quick. I think we've pretty much covered just about every subject, man. I'm just going to finish taking a quick look here. But there's going to be a lot of reports, guys. I don't buy it on everything, single thing that everybody's saying on Twitter. I mean, most of these people have no clue, quite frankly. And you know, you're just going to aggravate yourself if you know, is it 7? Is it 8? If it's 7 or is it 8? It really doesn't matter. The bottom line is, does Mario want to come back? And, you know, there really is not much else in the equation there that matters. So, Matt, we're 8 minutes from kickoff in the Pac-12 title game.
You know, it's funny. A big booster texts me and he says, who am I supposed to root for tonight? Like, what, he wants to know what makes it more likely Mario's going to come. And I said, it doesn't matter. Root for whoever you want. Like, this has nothing to do with whether Mario comes or not. If he loses by 50, if he wins by 50, he's, you know, it's still the same percent, 79% chance. Yeah,
I don't think it matters either. So, anyway, so now we're 7 minutes away from that game. And really interesting. What's the line in that game? I think Utah, because of their win against Oregon earlier in the year, was a 3-point favorite the last time I looked. Let's see. It's now 3.5.
Yeah.
Oregon's getting 3.5. I want to know who's taking Oregon in the 3.5. You got to go with the Marios, you know, if you're going to make a little wager on that game, I would think, right, Matt? Don't you have to go? At this point,
are you offering me a bet? Like, do you want me to take Utah or something? Like, who are you? You're taking Oregon.
No, man, I'm saying like at this point, with Mario so close, hopefully, to coming back to the U, I think that you have to. You know, go with the Marios in this game.
Yeah. Well, you know what's going to be also interesting is what happens with Miami's bowl game. You know, who coaches the game. You know, if the Mario thing goes through, because those 15 practices, I got to tell you, would be a huge opportunity. And Mario was not going to coach it. But it would be such a great opportunity to have Mario watching those, at least some of those practices down here.
No
to get an idea what he's got. But he's got his own, you know,
recruiting like a maniac till the 15th.
He's going to recruit for a week. He's got a week to recruit. Yeah, because it's dead period on Sunday. So if
I bet you he would tell them to move the practices back. So
I bet he tells move the practices to Oregon so I can hop from one field to the next.
I'm not sure what's going on here with this one. We run a good site, but it's time to upgrade. Like, I
I think they want me. I think they want me to take over. Is what they're saying. I'm pretty sure that's what that means.
You could.
I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Upgrade us, I guess. Gary 2.0, Matt 1.4.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. All right.
Yeah, I like that post. I saw that one. I don't know what it means, but I liked it. I don't know why I liked it.
He's giving us a little smiley now, so he's just playing. But anyway, yeah. So I think we've just about covered it all. I know I'm going to watch the game. I'm very intrigued to see Utah beat them bad the first time and just totally destroyed their dreams of the college football playoff. So we'll see what happens tonight. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you for joining us on CaneSport right now. We'll be coming back at you guys if there's more developments over the weekend. If not, we'll certainly be back Monday with Good Morning CaneSport. I'm expecting there to be a press conference at the U on Monday. Obviously, if that does go through the way we think, we will provide coverage of that as well. So have a great Friday night, everybody. For those of you watching the game, enjoy it. We'll see you next time.
Get your champagne ready for Monday, everybody.
That's right.